Hello, everybody. My name is Edward S. Redcar, and I'm the host of Edward S. Redcar's Entertainer Chat. And today I have the great pleasure of speaking with Matthew T. Kinney, actor, and so many other more things that we will certainly find out today. So, Matthew, welcome to the show, and how are you doing today?
Well, thanks you for having me, Edward, and I'm doing great today.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for graciously accepting my invitation to be on my show. And we're going to have a lot of fun. I'm going to have a lot of fun getting to know you. You're going to have a lot of fun just in the show in general, and everybody out there in the audience, they're going to have fun too. So, yeah, what I usually like to do when I start the show is I have guests from every facet of entertaining, actors, singers, musicians, dancers, writers, you name it, producers, directors. So I'll pose this first question to you. I noticed in one of your Instagram posts that you mentioned being in the BFA program at Syracuse University at one time, and that you didn't continue in that program. So I was just wondering, like, even before you attended Syracuse University, how did you become interested in acting?
Well, Edward, there was in high school, I wasn't exactly into sport. I mean, I had been into sports as a younger kid, and I was sort of trying to find something to get interested in. And actually, I had a very great mentor and English teacher. I'll even tell you his name, Jim Yera, and he's an actor to this day. And one of the things that he sort of made English come alive. We did, as ninth graders, we were doing Shakespeare,
Ah,
and it wasn't just sitting around reading. It was, we actually got up and acted it out, and
mhm.
that just really caught me, and I caught the bug that way. And I figured, well, maybe there's something to this. And at the high school that I went to, we were very blessed in that we had a Shakespeare company, a musical theater company, and a tech guild. So my freshman
Wow.
year, I joined the tech guild and worked on crew for a show.
Uh-huh.
And then I actually went out and auditioned for the Shakespeare play in my sophomore year. So that was my first. It was The Merry Wives of Windsor was my first show.
Okay, okay. That's a good one to start out with.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah. So I guess it'd be safe to say that, like when you first started out in the capacity of doing tech work, that sort of I don't know, laid the groundwork or the basis for learning about everything, like besides acting, that there's so much more going on in a production, whether it's on stage or in film. So yeah, I mean, that was a good place to start, right? So I
Oh
mean, so you
yeah,
could learn gradually.
right. Yeah, because and understanding and learning all of the art that goes into a production, either a theater production or a film production, and how it really is a very how either filmmaking or theater is a very collaborative art process where you have directors and you have designers and you have actors, and we're all on the same, and we're in direction, the same goal of
Right, right, right.
making art.
Yeah, everybody's all on the same team. Yeah, towards one goal. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and even within that overall thing, we all have our own craft that we do, and
Hmm.
so learning about different pieces of that craft. In fact, for the rest of high school, one of the things I actually eventually became the technical director for all the shows in that high school.
Wow, very good.
So
Wow.
even the ones I was acting in, now that was a trick. But
So you were wearing about 100 different hats at the same time besides being on stage.
well, once I was on stage, I was in the zone. They knew everybody knew
Watch
that was
out. Here comes Matthew, right? He's going full steam ahead. Right, right, right. Yeah. No,
that's what
that,
I
I mean, that's absolutely great. Like you were saying, you took that English course and they gave you an opportunity to act out what you were actually learning. That's kind of a little different. Like when I was in high school, we had, we were introduced to Shakespeare, Julius Caesar, and all that. And but we read it, we read along, and we were even shown like a film with of Julius Caesar, but we never got the opportunity to act. But yeah, I mean, if we did that, yeah, that would be absolutely great. Yeah, same thing. We had Tale of Two Cities, like is sort of like the standard in English when you're in high school, Tale of Two Cities and things like that. We read that, but never got a chance to act that out in any way. But yeah, I mean, that's absolutely great. That was an absolutely great foundation. I mean, to lay down for you to catch the acting bug as we all do, like you say, yeah, yeah. So,
right.
uh, like, uh, like when you were in high school, during the time you were in high school, um, in your off time from high school, whether it was during the year or during the summer or whatever, and then like even in your years after high school, where you're from in Massachusetts, was there any like local community theater volunteer group to get involved in with acting and tech work and stage building and all that?
Well, actually, I grew up in the Albany area, so not
Oh, okay,
so above upstate New York, and there
okay.
was, and
Then I can say howdy neighbor. I'm in New York.
exactly, exactly. So when growing up, there were opportunities in community theater. There have been in the community which I grew up in. There were long-standing community theaters and theater groups, and being able to, while I was in high school, work with those groups, because the teachers who were involved with us as as advising us how to do our shows were also in and directing the community theater shows.
Wow.
So they were able to introduce us to the adults. And so a few of us actually got to work on the adult shows at the same time.
Wow.
So
Wow.
so I got introduced to all kinds of the 50s and 60s musicals, and Sondheim
Yeah.
and Oscar Rogers and Hammerstein and all those kind of things. So it was a much different take on theater. I got to see how more experienced actors
Yeah. Yeah.
worked and what they
Yeah.
did and how they approached
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, I mean, that's great that you were able to shadow them and just to see probably how they approached roles or how they prepared or what they went through backstage on getting warmed up. Like if it was in musicals, getting warmed up, la 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 la, and all that. And
Yeah,
forgive me if I might be a little bit out of tune there, but I just thought I'd try. I just thought I'd try it off the cuff there, but.
that's okay.
Yeah, no, no, yeah, because like you were mentioning I mean the general Albany area, the very first thing that pops up in my mind, which I know that you're familiar with is Proctor's, right? I mean that
Mhm.
is like one of the places, like besides SPAC, Saratoga Performing Arts Center. I mean
Right.
those are the two things that come to mind that are great. I mean I've been, great shows that they put on, concerts and things like that. So yeah, that that was an amazing opportunity to kind of segue into like the next level of theater, right? Besides like high school.
Right. And I think that's what got me, by the time I was a senior in high school, I'd sort of decided that that was something I wanted to do as a career. and or at least at the time, that's what I wanted. At least I wanted to give it as much of a shot as I could. And so that's why when I was looking at college, I chose one of the reasons why I chose Syracuse, because their BFA in acting program was associated with Syracuse Stage. So you had all the professors were working in professional theater, either
Right,
as
right.
management or as actors or as crew members. So it was a very good immersive opportunity to be, you weren't just learning it from people who were just teaching it. Not that there can't just
Right,
be good teachers, but you were
right.
learning from people who were doing it every day
Yeah,
and
yeah,
right there.
yeah. That you mentioned about the affiliation with Syracuse University Drama with Syracuse Stage, and I've been to many, many plays of the SU Drama Department, and I mean top notch. Let's see, they they share the venue. What is it? Is it on Genesee Street below the hospital in Syracuse? Yeah,
Yes.
and my gosh, that's an amazing complex. They got two different theaters. Let's see, one that comes to mind, they call it Archibald, and then there's like
Mhm.
another one like directly across, or I think they're what, either across the way from each other or like adjacent to each other in that corner theater building there.
Yeah.
And I've been to like a Syracuse Stage. One production they brought. I mean, they bring well-known actors in there that actually put like their version of plays on. Not that they appear, but I mean, it's their
Mhm.
baby, and so they cast it and put it on. And yeah, I can't say enough about that venue with the affiliation and the relationship that the university has with Syracuse Stage. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's so good that I just kept going back for more. I can't
Yeah.
get enough
Yeah.
of it. Yeah, yeah. So another thing I noticed in your Instagram posts is that you post about some scenes of photos of an indie film that you recently worked on. And I thought it was interesting because you mentioned that you were both on both sides of the camera, which is it's a challenge enough to be on camera, but behind the camera is an extra challenge. So, are you at liberty at this time to mention anything about that film and your role in it?
Um, I really can't right now
Okay,
because it's still in production. Although I
right,
will
right.
say I do have a couple of upcoming projects that are really interesting. That they're actually theater projects. One of
Okay.
them that I can talk about a little bit. One of them is this fall. I'm in a it's called It's a Wonderful Life radio play, and
Oh, okay.
it's the same story we all know, and it's a cast of five, and we play all the roles in a radio in front of a live audience, but it's in the format of a radio play.
Oh,
So
cool.
that's going to be, and the role I'm and of the all the roles that we each do multiple roles in the cast, and one of the sort of principal role that I have in addition to the others is Clarence, the guardian angel.
Oh, that's
So that's
cool.
going to
Yeah. That I mean, that has to be such a fun role to be in because I mean, you can go to all extremes of the spectrum, be as sad as you want, be as happy as you want with the role of Clarence. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of It's a Wonderful Life. It's like every year I mean, I've watched it I don't know how many times around the holidays, and I just never get tired of it. I mean, I know how the story's going to end. It's like you practically know everybody's lines because those of us that watch things over and over again, it's like we can recite the lines even before the actors on film, get them out of their mouth. And yeah, Clarence, uh, that's such a cool role. Yeah, that's such a cool role. Probably the coolest role of everybody. maybe any of the roles there, because there's such a wide range, like I says,
Yeah.
that you can go in either direction. And
Right, right.
yeah.
And I guess and of course the other fun thing about that is that I get to play several other roles too. So it's not just the one, since each of us is playing like 6 or 7 roles in, I think I'm also, if I remember, I'm either I'm trying to remember some of the other roles. I'm either Bert or Ernie. I'm also
Oh, okay. Okay.
so
So you get to kick him out of your bar, right? Something like that.
yeah, exactly. So
Yeah, yeah. Say,
you know,
yeah.
it's
Something like say, yeah, we don't know you. It's like hit the road, Jack, and we'll throw you outside the door in the snowbank, and you go and try to find your car that you hit that tree, and that owner doesn't, and that what was it? That owner doesn't the owner. Let's see, the owner doesn't know who he is, right? He
right.
thinks let's see, he thinks that he knows the owner, but in fact, yeah, he really doesn't, because
He
he
doesn't.
doesn't realize that. Let's see, uh, oh yeah, he's been given a chance to like re to relive his uh,
Like,
to relive his life. Yeah, and yeah, no, that's just absolutely a great movie and a great role for you, and break a leg with it. Good luck, and yeah, break a leg with it. Yeah, um,
yeah, thanks.
yeah.
And then the other project that I have definitely coming up in the spring of 24 is I'm going to be in a production of Pygmalion,
Oh, wow, great.
and I'm in the role of Colonel Pickering.
Okay.
And as everybody, as probably most of the people watching know, that Pygmalion was turned into the musical My Fair Lady.
Yes, yeah,
But
yeah,
in some ways, the original Pygmalion is a lot more interesting, and the characters there's a lot more depth to them, and the fact that it isn't just sort of a uh, uh, sort of this romantic ending that we've all that from My Fair Lady, that really the original, it wasn't quite that way. There was a little more uh to the ending, and to uh the lead female character, that
right.
there was more of a substantial ending, and in the way her character was portrayed. So that's going to be a lot of fun, and it's also going to be good to, for that reason, to refamiliarize audiences with the original, with the way it was intended, those characters were intended to be.
Yeah. A lot of times, if things are staged, maybe like years after, like the original, or maybe in another production, another version, and it's great to kind of experiment and to kind of approach things from a different angle, right? It's like more of a challenge, and it makes things interesting instead of just doing the same character the same way, the same circumstances. And uh, that's what I find great about theater. Like whether you have a short run or if you have a long run, it's like each and every performance, it's like different every night, right? Because it's like when you say your lines, whether it's a drama or a comedy, you don't know how the audience is going to respond. So it's like you've got to play it different, because if something is maybe serious, and one night the audience kind of interprets it as sort of comical, um, well, I mean, you have to sort of match your performance with theirs.
Yeah,
If you get to a joke and the audience doesn't laugh, it's not like exactly you can go on a rampage and start your comedians. It just doesn't work. So yeah, no, I like that fact about how things change, like from performance, or from version to version. No
yeah.
matter how long or how short it's been, since it's yeah.
that reminds me, Edward, one of the things that talk about things, anything can happen, and every performance is different. A couple of years ago, I was in Hamlet, and I was playing Laertes, and there's a scene that Laertes and the king is trying to turn Laertes over to the dark side and put him against Hamlet. And key to this scene is the king is talking to Laertes, and key to this scene is that there's a letter that's being delivered by a messenger that tells the king says, oh, and this is what's happening to Hamlet, and then Laertes, and this is what happens to your sister, Ophelia, and then Laertes changes over. Well, one of the performances of Hamlet, the messenger missed their cue. And they didn't come on. And so there's actually a line that the king calls the messenger. He hears that he calls the messenger on, and they didn't come. And so
that's not good.
But after a look of about a second between us, look of terror for about a second,
the cold sweat starts running down your face. Yeah. They're done. Yeah.
But as you know, when you have good chemistry with your actors, with other actors, you can get into that. Those moments are okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And as long as you get through it well, the audience isn't going to know, right? They're not going to know if it's part of the play or an ad lib. They don't know, right? So it's all right. It's all good. You get through it, you move on. Yeah.
So in this instance, we sort of looked at each other and we're like, okay. So we added some dialogue and furthered, and then when it became clear that the messenger wasn't going to come on at all, after a couple of minutes, the actor who was playing the king said something to the effect of, aha, I think I hear something in the outer chamber. Let me check and see what it is.
Get in here, right?
Goes off stage. And of course, there I am on stage all by myself. And so I added a bit of a monologue about how Laertes really cares for Ophelia, and how it would be devastating after everything that's happened to his father, and etc. And then we were able to get back on because he came in back with the letter and read the letter. But it's those moments of sheer terror and danger that actually would draw me to the theater and acting in general. That's the high.
Yeah. I was going to say, those kind of things give you a high that you want to keep doing it. Whether keep doing what you're doing in the play or go on to other plays. And what you just said reminded me a long time ago. I mean, I was like in grade school. I think it was like maybe an 8th grade play, and I forget what the play was about, but I just remember the circumstance. And I don't know if we were halfway done with the play, and so it was somebody else's turn to do their line, and it was like dead silence. I say, for a split second, everybody stood there and did not know what to do, and so then they finally spoke, but they did their line, but it was like 2 pages ahead in the script. They completely skipped the scene we were doing. So it's like, well, I don't know, you're familiar with it too. It's like, you get yourself familiar with a script so you can almost see the pages in your head. And so I was going through the pages in my head, like that. And I says, where the heck are they? Where the heck are they? So I finally found the pages in my head where they were. So then I kind of jumped in with my next line after what their line was, like 2 pages ahead. And yeah, it was sheer terror. It was sheer terror for a split second. Everybody standing there saying, uh-oh, what do we do now? Their audience expected us to say something, so no, I really get that. Yeah.
Right.
Those plays that you were mentioning, upcoming plays, Now that's in the area where you are. I mean, it's local to your area. Those plays.
Yeah, these are
Oh,
both going to be in south of Boston in Dedham.
oh, okay,
So
okay, okay, okay. So, besides all this theater work, you're also in films, and I noticed that in your posts that you were cast in the latest short film by Loud Voices, Silent Streets by Ella Luna Muscroft. Absolutely great director, creator, writer,
brilliant.
actress, everything all together. So it's called How to Date and Enjoy It. So can you tell us a little bit about it and your role in that film?
Sure. I mean, in that film, I portrayed an older widower who was just trying to figure out video dating, and and eventually meeting someone from in America. I was American, of course, and meeting someone in England, meeting a woman in England who over video dating and over the internet. And that role really spoke to me in a way because around many years ago, when around actually it's now around about 20 years ago, that's how I ended up meeting my wife.
Oh,
Is I met her over Match.com back when they were the only when they were the only dating site.
the only
So
game in town, right? Yeah.
exactly. So I totally got the idea of, when you're someone who puts yourself out there and you don't know whether you're going to get any responses, and
No,
you
you're
don't,
totally vulnerable, right?
and especially when you're struggling with the tech, there's technology involved. You don't, especially for that character who was, this is the first time they're doing this, and this is the first time. Not only is it the first time they're looking to date after they've lost a spouse,
Right, right,
but
which
also
is
the
tough.
first,
Yeah.
yeah, which thankfully I've hadn't had experience, but the but having to then but then also having the courage to go out and put themselves out there
Hmm. Hmm.
and you know be that vulnerable
Right, right, right,
other.
right.
And I think that's really where um that is the sort of the the big takeaway from that
Yeah,
role
yeah.
for
Yeah,
me.
it's like your life is like totally on the line right there, totally vulnerable, open for everybody to see. Yeah, like you said, yeah, that's a scary thing. Yeah.
And
Exciting,
all, yeah,
exciting and scary at the same time, if you want to
right.
think of it that way. Yeah.
And we've all felt things like that.
Oh
We've
yeah.
all, and that's why I think that part of that film, and in general, that film about the idea of being vulnerable and putting yourself out there in all in for that film in general, that's something we've all experienced, and that's something we can all identify with. And I think, that's just another example of how, film and theater really speak to people, is that they're yeah, a lot of stories are different, but the stories are really about us, all of us, and all of
Right.
us tapping when you find a good story is one thing that you can say, there's me in there. Just like as an actor, you try to find, even if the person that you're playing is completely opposite you and completely different, you still try to find yourself in there as an actor.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah. Each and every character has some traits of us, whether a lot of traits or, a few traits, right? Yeah.
but it's that identification and empathy that you can have that makes, it seems to me, on the one hand, a good story to a good film, a good piece of theater, that you
mhm.
can that there's something that people can grab a hold of and say, that's me, that's part of me,
Yeah, 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 yeah,
you know.
yeah. And I think that when the actor feels that it's part of them and it's genuine and you can really feel it right here, it's like the people out there in the crowd in the audience, they can feel it too. They can feel, well, it's like, wow, this actor, whether or not they really experienced it in their life, which they don't know, but it's like you take it to heart, so they feel it, and they feel it in the heart too. So
Right,
which
right.
which is a win-win situation for all the actors and the production and yeah, everything like that. Yeah, yeah. So I mean, it's like you've been in so many things. Like we were just talking about your latest short film there, How to Date and Enjoy It. I mean, I was just going through your posts. I mean, Instagram, Facebook, and this and that, and it's like, I mean, I've worked with you before, but there's so much more to you that I did not know about besides what we worked on together after Mom and things like that. Um, I couldn't remember it all. I started to make a list. I had to make a list for this question because you're in so many things and have been in so many things. So let's see. You have appeared in Utterly Hopeless, an audio drama. What was it? You mentioned, what was it? An episode 9, was it?
Yes,
Yeah, and which I was in as well. I think I was in episode 6, and it was what, like a 13 episode series, right over
yes.
several. I mean, over several months. Because Ella, I think she uploaded it what, maybe every few weeks, like
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you've been in that. You've been in Serial Inspectors. You've been in Fonder. You've been in The Merry Wives of Windsor, The Winds of Whitby, sort of a Dracula tale,
Mm.
um, a Christmas production together with Tinsel, uh, Miracle on 34th Street, a Shakespeare play, Much Ado About Nothing, and After Mum, which I had the pleasure of working with you and so many of the other
Yes.
great talents in Loud Voices, Silent Streets, which I have to mention, I have to get the shameless plug in that we were all nominated for Best Feature Film at the Love and Hope International Film Festival in Barcelona, Spain in September 2022. And that was just awesome, right? To be not,
Yes.
I mean, to be nominated, you know?
Well, yeah, you don't do this for the recognition,
No, no,
but when
no,
you
yeah.
get it, that's just really validating because it says, it's just like, wow, there was something, there was, and I'm sure you probably felt this when you were doing it too, Edward, is just that when you is doing that film, there was there was a lot special about that.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, it was.
And I just remember that uh just the interactions I had with Zoel, who was playing the who played my wife
Right, right.
in that movie. Those, I think we, and I hope, and I think this came across on the screen, but we had a couple of scenes where we were fighting with each other, and it got to the point where after we did the scene, we were just like, wow, we were just really in a fight.
You were really at each other's throats, right?
Yeah.
Wow. I know I
So
watched it myself and it's like, wow, man. Did these two kind of calm down after they came out of the scene, or were they still mad at each other before they left the Zoom recording session? It's like, whoa. I don't want to
right,
get out. I don't want to get in between, and I don't want to get in the way of that argument. I'm glad it's on Zoom and it's on screen, so they can't hurt anybody else. If they feel like going like this to each other. So yeah, no, I
right.
know it. I know it.
No, but I mean, I think that's with all that was a very special um film, and I think, obviously Ella, writing and directing that.
Yes,
I don't know where Ella gets all this energy to do all this writing
she's
and directing.
amazing. She is amazing. Yeah, it's like, yeah, I know. I'm amazed myself, just like you mentioned you are. It's like, yeah, yeah, monologue competition, writing competitions, monthly films, and she also has like on set, on location filmmaking in the UK. Besides everything that she coordinates and organizes online with us, and yeah, it's like I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. You know, it's like yeah, she's yeah, absolutely amazing. Yeah, yeah,
And the
yeah.
last and for the last and up until she graduated, just she was going to college at the same time.
Yes. And not only going to college, but she was commuting by train back and forth to college. She was, I think she was like going back home like on the weekends or something, and then going back just in time to start her, classes, for the next week. So yeah, it's like that's unbelievable to or
Yeah,
to organize all that all at the same time. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. And like talking about after mom, um, I would think, and it's probably the case, like we were talking about how people feel in relationships, that um, I I can assume, and probably it's true, that like in any parental relationships with children, with their mother and father, I, I maybe it's safe for me to say that both a mother and a father could both feel like that they've been like in a relationship for so long. They've raised their children, and the children in that after mom, they were all grown up, and always feeling maybe that they've always wanted to do something with their lives, whether it's a talent that they were never able to realize. In this case, with After Mom, it was the mother that Zoelle played, but I can imagine there can also be a play where the father feels that I don't know, stifled or something. That's the
yeah,
only thing I can think of. So yeah, um, yeah,
yeah.
it really hit home about the relationship with in this case Zoelle feeling that I want to try something, but I've never had the opportunity to. So, but yeah, yeah,
Right. And that was something I could really identify with as well, because, we were talking about how, I was interested in this stuff in high school and I went to college originally for it.
uh-huh,
And then after I left the BFA program in my freshman year, I pretty much, with a couple of exceptions, took the next 20 years off. So I didn't do anything and didn't do any theater, didn't act at all, didn't do anything in tech. And I missed it, but I didn't know how to get back into it. And then a few years ago, my wife basically said, probably to get me off the streets
keep you out of
and
trouble, right? Keep
keep
you
me
out
out
of
of
trouble.
trouble. Exactly. Said, well, why don't you try doing it again? So I said, okay. And I auditioned for a couple of shows here locally,
Hmm.
and started getting back into it again. And so I
Yeah,
understand, I have that. I can really, I can understand that feeling of, if you're missing something
yeah,
and
yeah. It's
going back.
always there in the back of your mind, right? Always there,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Like you mentioned a little while ago about catching the acting bug. Once you catch it, you don't get rid of the sickness, right? If you want to say sickness, you don't get rid of it. It's there. You want to be sick all your life. That's the only way I can
Yes.
put it. You want to be sick all your life, right? So I got the disease. I want to be sick, and just like you are. We're both enjoying ourselves. But yeah, I can relate to what you're talking about, being away from it for 20 years. I first acted, like I says, when I was in like eighth grade. Surprisingly enough, I didn't act anymore in that. Well, we turned it junior high back then. I didn't act in high school. I didn't act in college. Uh, However, I was like on the radio station 4 years in college, but for some reason, I don't know, I didn't act. Uh, then I was in my mid-20s. I graduated from college, and it was my mother that says to me, she says, "Hey," she says, "you used to act in school." Uh, there was this local community theater group, a director. Originally, he was from New York City. He came up and relocated up to Central New York area, and he opened up a local community theater, like for younger people.
Hmm.
Of course, at that time, a million years ago, I was younger, not like I am now. But
We all
yeah,
were.
yeah. So she says, yeah. She says, just like your wife told you. She says, yeah. She says, well, you used to like it. You used to get. So the acting bug caught bit a second time, and so after that, make a long story short, um, I got a job in the transportation industry, like for the next 30 years. Didn't do anything with acting remotely, but I knew I was always going to come back to it. Then about 3 years ago, the opportunity presented itself, and I says, I'm all in. So yeah, it's a very, very, I guess, common story between those of us who've caught the acting bug, whether we keep on with it once we catch it, or we take some time off like you did, I did, and come back to it 20, 30 years later. And I think it's a common thread, it's always
Right.
there, and you got to use it.
Right. And I think that's something that, as artists, we all have to remember. It's not You're not just an artist if it's what you do full time for a living for your whole life. You're an artist if you do it part time. You're an artist. If you do it, if you have another job that you do to pay the bills and do all that stuff, and you do art as a hobby, then you're still an artist. If you take time off and you come back to it, you're still an artist.
Right.
And so it's not, you're not a fake, or you're not a phony if you don't if it's not just what you do to make a living full
Right.
time. And I
Right.
think that's
Yeah. I mean, some people might think that pardon me. Some people might think maybe that, you're an actor and it's sort of like you got to do it one after the other, right? Continuously, bam, 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 all the way down the line. But yeah, like you mentioned, there's so much more to it. And yeah, you're an actor, whether or not you're acting constantly, once every couple of years, once every 20 years, once every 30 years. But yeah, you're always an actor, yeah. So you were mentioning before about the your experience BFA in Syracuse. So I did a little bit more digging, and
yep.
I found on a post that you posted on Facebook that you graduated from New England Law, Boston in 2010.
Mm-hmm.
And so that got me to wondering that, like, when you attended Syracuse University as a BFA student, and did you switch to pre-law at Syracuse and then enter law school after that, and or did you like switch to pre-law at another college? And as a result of all that, what type of law do you practice?
Well, when I left the BFA program, I stayed at Syracuse, and actually, of all programs that I transferred into, I transferred into the mathematics department, and I ended up getting my BS in math, and I originally wanted to be a teacher, and either a teacher or a college professor, and actually, I got my master's degree in after that from Canisius College in Buffalo, and in education, and that was what I was thinking of doing that. And so it didn't work out that way. I decided, I don't know, after doing my student teaching, and again, some of the stuff Ella's doing or had done, doing the student teaching, and that really wasn't, I wanted more life experience
Mm,
before I got into a classroom with kids that were really only like 6 or 7 years younger than me.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And so I actually got involved with another mentor, and I took a job here in Boston, and he encouraged me to go to law school. So
Mm.
I went to law school. I started law school in 2006 as part-time. So it was, and when they say part-time, they really only mean you take 4 classes instead of 5. So
Even though it's a big load, you're only going part-time, right?
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was so I did that at night while I was working, and
Oh, wow.
in 2010 I graduated, and ever since I the type of law I practice corporate law. So I
Okay.
do contracts, and I work with HR, and I work with finance in the company I work
Okay.
for,
Okay.
and do sales deals and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
it's really it's really a varied practice, not just one thing. But the best part is I only have to have one client, and I don't have to go out and get new ones. But
That, yeah, that's a definite plus. That is a definite plus. Yeah. Yeah, you speak about your mentor, and I think in that one post that I seen your graduation picture that he was pictured like in the background.
yeah,
That same picture, yeah, I remember that picture of, and then let's see, between you and your mentor, was that your mother?
I think that was. I'm trying to remember if that picture.
Your
Yeah, it was
mother?
my mom.
I
And
know there was a woman there, but I'm trying to remember whether, I mean, who it was. I know there was a woman in between you two, but yeah, it escapes me as to who she was. Yeah.
may have been. Yeah, it may have
Okay.
been.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
So, I mean, that has to really come in handy, like you were saying that part of your practice is like corporate law contracts. That's got to come really handy, like say like for contracts, like for acting, right? I mean, you already know the ins and outs of contracts, so somebody puts a contract in front of you, you can say, "Oh, no, 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 this has to be here. You got to take this out, substitute this clause," and um, that yeah, that's got to be a major plus for you, right? I mean,
well,
I mean, you can be your own agent, right?
it's funny, Edward, because you know the old saying, that a lawyer who represents himself has a fool for a client.
Oh,
It's
I did not say that. You did.
no, I'm just saying it. So, but
No,
you know,
yeah,
certainly it helps on some things, but that's why in fact, a couple of people in my class actually graduated as entertainment and have become entertainment lawyers,
oh, okay,
and
okay.
so have specialized in sports and entertainment law. And that's
Oh,
actually those practitioners I have a lot of respect for, because that specialty it's tough. It's not just it's not I'm sort of a general practitioner. They're a specialist, and they know all this stuff like old hat. So
yeah,
that's
yeah,
the
yeah,
you
yeah.
know so I would definitely, if I was in a situation where I had something like that, I'd get one of them to represent me,
Okay,
and
okay.
it'd be money well spent.
Yeah. Well, at least it's a great advantage that you have all of them at your disposal, that you can, I mean, you've got a nice network that you can discuss things if you're unsure about things. You sort of have a go-to in anything that you might have a question about, right? Like a
Yes.
go-to lawyer in this discipline, go-to lawyer in that discipline. So yeah, that plus the fact that you know contracts in and out, you're golden. The sky's the limit for you. You got the acting down, you got the contracts down, you got the connections for all the different disciplines. You've got nothing to worry about. You got nothing to worry about. So yeah, I mean, besides all of that, I mean, like I says, I had to write lists of things down that you've done. I mean, you've done so many things. Um, so turning to your life aside from acting, performing, and everything else that you do? I seen a post. I think it was on. I think it was on Facebook that you have a photo of one of your family members and named Mookie. Mookie.
Ah, yes.
Mookie. And so you mentioned in that post that he graduated from his first set of classes in beginner education in a pet training program. So, I mean, cute as a button, that dog. I mean, cute as a button. And so,
Yes.
what breed of dog is he? How long you've had him, and how old is Mookie?
Well, Mookie is 8 years old
Okay.
and he is a Pomeranian. Now, he's 25 pounds, which for a Pomeranian, that's really large because they're
Wow.
around like 7 to 10 pounds. But we've done some research and we know he's a purebred because the prior owner had AKC papers on him and everything.
Oh,
Done
okay.
some, done some research, and every once in a while, because Pomeranians back in history were bigger dogs that were bred to be small.
Okay.
So every once in a while, in a litter of purebred Pomeranians, you'll get a much bigger dog that was basically the size that they were a couple hundred years ago.
Okay. Okay.
And they call them throwback Pomeranians. And so Mookie is a
Okay.
throwback Pomeranian.
Okay.
And
A back in the day Pomeranian, right?
exactly. But he has the exact same personality and energy and everything like that as if he was a tiny dog.
Okay.
He doesn't
Okay.
know any difference. So,
Okay. Probably
so
sees probably sees all the other dogs in the neighborhood, whether they're Pomeranians or not. Well, I'm bigger than you. You got to do what I say. Get out of the way. I'm coming through on the sidewalk or something like that, right?
yes,
So originally back in history, what were they bred for? I mean, what was their job? What did they? I know every breed has a different job, whether they're a retriever or
mm,
hunter or whatever. What's sort of the background on Pomeranians way back when?
well, my understanding from what I could do the research on is that they were in the same sort of family, so to speak, as huskies and other sled dogs.
Oh, really? Wow.
And it makes sense because Pomeranians really have that long, wispy coat that,
Yes. Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that. I was just going to say that because when you mentioned huskies, immediately I thought, yeah, they've got, long fur and sure for the cold. Yeah. Yeah.
but we've had him since March, and he came to us after his original owner passed away.
Oh, okay.
And we hadn't had we had a dog previously, and we haven't had one for a couple of years. And we were actually going to set Mookie up with, because we have there are a couple of friends of ours who they are animal rescue people. They are really experienced with that. And we were
Okay.
going to see if they wanted to take him. And because we knew that it was through a mutual acquaintance that where he was.
Hmm.
And we decided, okay, well, you come over to our house and the dog will come to our house and well, he comes in the door. First thing he does is go and sits on my wife's foot. And then I was sitting on the couch, and then he ran over and jumped up on the couch and didn't even pay attention to our friends at all. So I think we decided then and there that basically he had selected us as where he wants to be home with.
Oh, okay. So
So
so Mookie's got a little bit of an attitude, right? It's like I like them, I don't like you, and I'm going to let you know it. These are my guys here. You guys are out, right? He's got a little bit of an attitude, which is a
yeah,
good
yeah,
which is a good thing.
yeah, he definitely knows what he wants.
Mhm.
And but he's very everybody says that their dog is friendly, but he's really a very um he's a real people dog. He is very social, and all the kids in the neighborhood know him from us walking him around. They don't even people there are people in the neighborhood who don't even know who my wife and I are, don't know our names, but they know Mookie. And that's and that,
You and your wife have to figure out how to be as popular as Mookie. Mookie doesn't say a word and he's popular.
Yeah,
So you got to let them know that you exist too, you know?
he just wags his
So,
tail and gives them kisses, and that's
yeah,
maybe
yeah,
that's what
yeah.
we have to do.
Yeah, yeah, that reminds me, years and years ago, my family, we had a dog, and she wasn't a purebred, but we got her from a humane society, and she was a mix between a German Shepherd and a Labrador Retriever, and she looked like a short German Labrador Retriever. I think they call them like Belgian Shepherds or something,
Mm,
something like that. I never exactly knew exactly what her exact combination was, but uh, she had all black fur. She had pointed ears, just like a German Shepherd. Smart as a whip, just like a German Shepherd. All black fur, like a Labrador, black lab. The only thing she had a white stripe on her chest and two little spots on her hind legs, but the rest of her were all black. Smart as a whip, like a German Shepherd, but a very even-tempered and friendliness like a Labrador Retriever.
mm,
So, and we got her at the local Humane Society. I think I was like 10 years old. Three
yeah.
dollars and 25 cents for the dog.
Wow.
$3.25. There were, I think there were like a brother and a sister, or two brothers or two sister dogs in the kennel area next to her. And I wanted one of them originally. So I told my mother, father, I said, gee, mom, dad, I'd like this puppy. But the person at the kennel said, we can't separate them because they're so young and they won't be able to survive without each other's company. So that let that option out. So
Mm,
there just happened to be next door on the other side of the fence this little black German Shepherd. I want her, and that was it. And that was best decision that we ever made. We had her for oh God, I don't know how many years, and yeah, had her for a long time. And yeah, yeah, dogs are great. Everybody knew her name, Blackie, which was appropriate because the first time I seen her in a cat animal, that's what I called her. I says, there's Blackie. And that name stuck, and it was like that way for the rest of her life. So, yeah, definitely dogs are a great thing. Pets, whether it's a cat, dog, snakes, alligators, whatever you like to
yeah.
collect. Yeah, they're all great companions, members of the family. And she's probably, well, she's the same member of the family like you are, right? I mean, she's just family, right?
Right.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
and maybe I'm wondering at some point I'm gonna have a chance to do some acting with Mookie because our last dog, Candy, was who was a ger it was she was a brown German short hair pointer.
Uh-huh.
And there was right at the beginning of the pandemic, I was involved in this 24-hour play festival, the Quick Quarantine Play Festival, and there was a monologue written, and it was about a guy and his dog, and so Candy got to be in the video with me, and
Oh,
so
wow.
that and so that was so maybe Mookie. I'll have to find a spot for Mookie to be
You
on
know,
camera.
there's got to be plenty of dog food commercials that are just dying to have Mookie. Uh, I don't know if there is, but there must be like a pet casting site somewhere, like there is for us. Like I don't know how many
Yeah.
casting sites you can apply to, but yeah, yeah, you got to get her. You got to get him cast. That's all. Get on the stick. Get him a headshot. Start making her show or start making his show reel. Get his resumes together, his CV, get that together, and start submitting. So then I can say, well, I knew him when, and I was the first to talk about him on my talk show. So
There you go.
that'll be some kind of connect. If I ever do get an animal again, and your Mookie gets all these big dog food commercial contracts, maybe I'll get maybe some like free kibble out of it along the way somewhere.
I'll if he ever gets that, if he still wants to be seen with me, I will make that happen.
Yeah, yeah. I found another interesting thing about you is that you play this game that's in the papers, newspapers, whatever, Wordle.
Yes.
I've seen it millions of times, and you occasionally post about it on Facebook. Like I says, I've never played it. I have friends that do play it, um, but I've got to ask you. I mean, this is a complete mystery to me. I mean, I might be living in a cave, but this has been always been a complete mystery. Now, how do you play it? What's the objective of the game for those of us that don't know anything about it?
Okay. So the objective of the game is to guess, and they're all 5 letter. Each day there's a new 5 letter word that you're trying to guess.
Okay.
And you get 6 chances to guess the 5 letter word. And so, and every time you make a guess, the site will.
I gotta write this down. I gotta write this
Okay.
down.
So every time.
Oh,
So every
I'll
time.
never remember all this.
Okay.
I
So,
gotta
so every
write
time.
this.
So
Okay.
every time you make a guess, so
Okay.
for these 5 letter words, it'll either tell you that the letter is in the right is the right letter in the right place, the
Okay.
right letter in the wrong place, or it's completely wrong. And so yeah, I try to play it every single day because every day there's a new word.
Okay.
And actually a friend of mine and we have sort of an accountability project that we exchange what our, because it's the same word for everybody.
Okay. Okay.
And
So you've got to keep each other honest, right? To
we
account.
just sort of say, we just, because it was one of our goals to play it every day, and so we send each other our result every day, just to
Okay.
make just to, so we're just so we're both doing it every day. We make sure we're doing it every day, and so
Okay.
that's
Well,
the
yeah. Well, yeah, to keep doing it every day, then you keep in practice and you can probably get better and better at it, do it quicker and quicker, just like
yeah,
the
just like crosswords and stuff like that.
crossword puzzle. Yeah, exactly. Just like a crossword puzzles or what's that other game where they have that you have to like supply missing letters and they give you hints and they give you like a picture and like the missing letter, the squares of the missing letters are like in a circle. I can't remember what the name of that game is, but
I know what you're talking about, yeah, but
yeah,
I don't remember
yeah,
it.
it's popular. A lot of people that I know play it, and I play it occasionally too. But yeah, Wordle has always been a mystery to me. So I thank you for telling me what it's about, how to do it, and for everybody out there that's just just as much questioning it as I have. So the mystery is solved, and I have you to thank for it.
Well,
Yep.
thank you.
The solution to Wordle was on my talk show with Matthew T. Kinney. He gave the ins and outs and everything about it, so we'll be able to become as good as we'll be able to come as good as he is, and up to the level that that he's doing it. So maybe someday we can compare what we're doing on Wordle.
Sure, sure.
Everybody, put in the chat when I upload this to YouTube in the comments. Put in the comments whether or not you do Wordle, and if you do Wordle, if you're just starting out or if you've done it for years, put in the chat in the comments how you did, if you solved it, or if you're still struggling it. And Matthew will see all those comments, and maybe he can get back to you and say, okay, this is where you went wrong. You have to try this and that. So I got your back, Matthew. I got your back. We're going to get a lot. We're going to get a lot more Wordle fans. So I'm going to put my notes here. I got that, so I'll be able to get right on the stick on it. So yeah. So I mean, I have really enjoyed talking with you today.
Yes.
I mean, this has been an absolute pleasure. Like I said in the beginning, I knew you through acting and things like that, but never knew anything further than that. I imagine that's because of Zoom. We've never met each other personally. Yeah, like I said, thank you very much for being on my show today, Matthew. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for graciously accepting my invitation to be on my show. and it's just been an absolute pleasure talking with you today. And before we end here, is any closing remarks that you'd like to mention before we say goodbye to everybody?
This was just, I really enjoyed this a lot. It's really been a pleasure to come on, and I've really enjoyed watching your show. So it's good to be it's good to be on this side of the camera. But definitely thank you very much, Edward.
Oh, you're very welcome. Very welcome. No problem at all. So yeah, yeah, once again, I thank you for being on my show. I wish you all the best for your career, whether it's an audio drama, short films, theater, whatever you do in your performing career, your legal career. So the best of luck to you with all that. Say hello to Mookie for me. I don't know if he'll accept me as a friend yet because we don't know each other, only virtually, but say hello to Mookie for me, and maybe someday he'll warm up to me and maybe jump on my lap if there's ever a time whenever I see you in person and Mookie in person.
I'm sure he would.
I'll sure to bring some like treats with me to kind of sweeten the deal a little bit, you know. So yeah. So yeah, everybody, my name is Edward Osredkar, the host of Edward Osredkar's Entertainer Chat, and I have had the awesome pleasure of speaking with Matthew T. Kinney today, actor in audio drama on stage, films, has a law career, a legal law career, among every other things as he does, a proud owner of his family member, Mookie, which we mentioned. And I had to get Mookie's name in here because I don't want him to feel slighted that, you know, we haven't promoted him as much as his father, Matthew. So yeah. So until next time, everybody stay well, take care, and we'll see you next time. And so long.
Bye.